The topic for today is how to approach a host institution when I am fellow interested in fellowship at your host institution. And because normally I ask fellows about their experiences with writing their project proposals, we also ask evaluators about their experiences. We introduce what the European Commission thinks about the topic, but we hardly ever speak to representatives of host institutions. So what it is that motivates you to accept people as fellows, and how to approach you the best in order to make our collaboration during the project preparatory phase smooth and efficient. So I invited today a guest, Petr Urban from Institute of Philosophy of Czech Academy of Sciences. Do I have it right? Thank you very much. We practiced before this interview how to pronounce it properly because there were some changes in the name of the institution. So again, if you want to approach someone, it's really good to know what is his name, what is his position, and where he works. So let me introduce Petr Urban, who is a senior researcher and a head of research group of a very specific topic. And because I don't want to make any mistake, I would prefer Petr to introduce his research group before I make some.
Okay, so thank you so much for the invitation. Great to be here. So I'm currently project coordinator for the Center for Environmental and Technology Ethics in Prague, which is a Horizon Europe funded project. And the center as such is something which is established due to this European project. And my role there basically is to coordinate the collaboration between researchers and our mentor, who is the professor Mark Kokelberg from the University of Vienna. And we have a lot of people who support us also from the Institute of Philosophy. So it's more kind of organizing and collaborating and coordinating work there. But anyway, it's also part of my own research interests. Currently, I'm quite interested in environmental philosophy. So that's what I do.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for introducing your institute, because I would definitely make a mistake in that. It's quite a long one. Anyway, so the reason why I invited Petr today is the fact that I know that they want to accept a research fellow within the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Postdoctoral Fellowship scheme, and also the fact that Petr was willing to share his experience in hiring fellows or in collaboration with fellows. So we will hear his perspective as a supervisor, as a representative of host institution, what is important during this preparatory phase. So I thought that we could play a little game, Petr.
Okay.
So let's suppose that I am a fellow, possible fellow, I have a PhD, and I would be interested in collaborating with your research institute. We have never collaborated before. Do I have any chance? What do you think? Is there any chance, if I have never collaborated with you before and I would like to join your research institute? I think the research I perform is related to what you do. And well, can I? What do you think? Could I, or does it make sense if I approach you even in this situation when we never collaborated before? Do you think it would be viable? Would you be interested in a person like me under some kind of conditions?
Yeah, sure. So definitely we are open to people who just reach out to us. So you never know everybody interesting in the field. So of course, people who learn about our institute and who are interested, and they reach out, either sending us an email expressing interest, or it can be something like trying to get in touch through a Zoom call or whatever. So it's always interesting to take a look, because I think that the ideal situation is that there is a good match between the candidate and our center, and this good match is usually something which can start by the candidate noticing that there is this new center and feeling something like, oh my gosh, they do exactly what I'm researching on, and that would be so nice to to just look into the possibility of collaboration. So that's first thing. So definitely, I think that probably majority of research institutes and centers like us are open to people calling and just reaching out. And second, of course, in this first contact, I think it's extremely important to already catch the attention of the person who is sort of in charge there. So it's not probably ideal to reach out to assistant and ask to be connected or something like that. But I would highly recommend to do the homework, to Google the person who is either a project coordinator or kind of lead researcher, and especially at this stage of Marie Curie postdoctoral incoming fellowships. So these are, of course, on quite high level of expertise of the candidates too. So it's okay to talk to the lead researcher directly. And in the first contact, of course, it's important to mention why are you so interested in collaborating, and not just formally, not just saying things that are obvious, like repeating some formulations that are on the website, but giving a story. So like, here is my story. This is really my research interest that, I have worked on these topics for some time, and to show that there is something like a substantial match which you feel through your individual perspective. And I think that this is important. And of course, you have to be short because people can't spend much time reading long emails, and there is always the risk that your email can be buried somewhere under many other emails. So I think it's good to think about the subject that you write, so something which already is catchy, and then a short but very concrete and sort of individually twisted way of expressing your interest. And suggesting a personal call, I think it's a good thing to do, because people are much more interested in the candidates, especially when they have some good impression from a first quick Zoom call, so that you see how the person interacts, and how even some things like personal chemistry is important there. So if you see somebody who is really easy to talk to, and there is something already starting in the first conversation, so that's a good path to start preparation of a project together. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting idea. So you suggest that even within the first email by which I would address you, you wouldn't mind that I would already propose a call?
I would suggest maybe not to propose the call, but to mention that you would be like very happy if there is a possibility of having a short Zoom call. So it's kind of going slightly beyond just, here I am and this is my interest, but saying something like, if you think that we might have a call, so I would love to talk to you and to explain more, and that expresses also your willingness to show more, so that you are not shy to talk to the person directly, because of course you risk that in that case you can also lose the attention of the person, but that you are ready to do that, and quickly. So I think it's good, and it's a good signal for kind of person with good communication skills. So here I am, and I am ready, and I would love to talk to you if possible.
Wow, thank you. That's really inspiring. So in a way, what you mentioned, it's like opening another option to reply to my email, not by email, because it's quite time consuming. While having a short Zoom, it might be a couple of minutes and done. While
Yes.
thinking about email is usually longer. So yeah, that's a really great idea. Thank you for that one. And when you were talking about it, I was getting so many ideas on what you mentioned. And you know how it is. Sometimes you get too many ideas and then you just get stuck. So it was a great thing. So you said that you should be careful not to lose attention once you opened the door and the first impression was good. So what kind of researchers, to be specific, are good for you not to lose your attention? What attracts your attention? So when you see a person for the first time, what it is you think is the moment when you think, I want to listen to that person. Actually, we had this experience together because I applied for a job with Petr. So we had this experience. So I would be quite curious when, the people interested in collaboration come to you, reach you through Zoom or personally. Can you identify the moment when you think, okay, I'm going to listen further?
Yeah, sure. So maybe just a follow-up on the idea of giving a kind of personal, individual perspective. So I think it's always very important if a part of explaining the motivation is that, at your center, there are people whose work I'm familiar with, and I'm interested in talking and collaborating with these people on some concrete topics. And once you really demonstrate that you have, for example, read something by a member of the center, or even you read something written by the lead researcher you are talking to. So this is already a good demonstration of, okay, so there is a real motivation. The person really read something. The person is aware of the things that we have been doing at the center. And I think it's very convincing when you already start something like the first kind of subject-related conversation. So it's not about so you are interested because you work in that field somehow, and you now want to do something as a next step in your career. But you talk to the person in terms of your last article on that topic speaks to my own position, which I published in that article, and I would love to share that article with you and learn your feedback on that, or something like that. And I think that people, like scientists, usually are quite resonating when it comes to the things that they are researching on. So when you start this contact with playing with that resonance and showing that you really know what you are talking about, and that you could maybe offer a perspective which would contribute to what is already there at the center. So you can express that very quickly, and it might be even in the first call. And I think that this is probably the moment when the lead researcher would think, oh, that would be really nice to have a more detailed proposal written by this person, so that we can really decide whether we want to support or not. Yeah.
Wonderful. So when you were talking about this point of view, what kind of occurred in my mind was the word curiosity, mutual curiosity, that we share the interest, and there is a kind of passion around it. So this is probably the chemistry you mentioned, that we are on the same kind of direction, feeling positively about the same thing. So it's a lot about being very specific for your situation and showing that what you do resonates with what I do, and probably even with my values, that the way I look at the problem is somehow, it doesn't have to be exactly in tune, but it strengthens what you do. It can enrich it, enlarge it, open more space for investigation in the direction you are interested in. So simply shared curiosity, like a little Alice in Wonderland.
And this reminds me actually also of one thing, which maybe people who are less experienced, they might think, and I think that it's a wrong assumption, that the closer you are with your positions and scientific opinions to the person you want to collaborate with, the better. But it can be the opposite. So that, or not directly opposite, but what can happen is that if you talk to a lead researcher and you're saying, you know, I completely agree with what you have been arguing in your previous papers, and I would be so happy, you know, just to add to your arguments because I just completely identify with your line of thinking. So it might sound as this is a strategy how to get my attention, but I'm not interested because I do my work myself, and I would love to see someone who is having an interesting different position, and that might be also a kind of conversation partner to me. It might also be an inspiration for developing my own position. So I think it is very important to sort of strike the balance between we have these vibes in similar research topics, but also I'm, as a candidate, already kind of experienced in establishing my own points of view that I might offer to this constructive type of collaboration. So don't go that too far in what would be sort of identifying with the line of thinking of the person that you want to attract the attention of. Yeah.
Again, when I was listening to you, it came to my mind again, a parallel with cooking. So it felt like, you know, I could be an ingredient, a new ingredient for your scientific dish. And if I'm kind of ingredient that you normally use, I might strengthen the flavor. While if I'm entirely new ingredient, we can create entirely new dish. You know, just by adding something special, you get this added value which wasn't there before. And so this is, I think, from what I hear from you, probably on the side of the fellow at the very beginning, already to show these possible flavors we could get when we collaborate, which I think is a really inspiring idea, which you just thank you very much.
Yeah, and I love that metaphor. It's really exactly what I meant, and I think it's the cooking thing and the ingredients as sort of elements of research team. It really fits nicely.
So if I return back our conversation to the structure of the postdoctoral fellowship, now we are at the very beginning. So obviously the work is a lot on the side of a fellow. I should do the homework and read as much as possible of what is available online. So your work, how your institution is organized. Well, generally, like if I like on a dating app, you learn as much as possible that is available about the person. So in this case, it's not only the person, it's the supervisor, it's the team, it's the institution as well. So is this the best approach to accept someone who knows whom you have never seen before? So if I come to you, if I address you, and I know absolutely everything, every detail, so I pick from this richness of ingredients, again, something specific that I love about your research group and your research team. So this is probably, that sounds to me like, from what I heard from you, like the best way to address you. I know that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of the aspects of that process. So why this works is that, of course, people are considering different options, and I, as a project coordinator or a lead researcher, I know that people would reach out to me in the situation when they also consider reaching out to other institutions, or they already reached out to them. And there is always this moment of thinking of the project coordinator, whether investing time and energy into further conversations with this candidate and further preparation, maybe even of the project, would really be a good investment in terms of we are investing to someone who, if successful, really stays with us and not, for example, go after a couple of weeks of first round of collaboration and preparation of the project, so would not choose a different offer if given. So I think that this is an important moment, so that you see, so if the person really shows that she or he knows quite a lot in detail about your center, so this is a signal of, okay, so maybe she's also applying for other things, but it seems that there is a real interest and real motivation to work with us. And this will be also something that you would recheck a couple of times later on, so that you read some of the expressions of the person in terms of people sometimes just mention that they are waiting for a response from a different center. So you might immediately ask, so does that mean that you are considering also a different place, and what would be your decision in case that they offer you, so you should be, as a candidate, ready. And you of course want to play the game as wide as possible and have many options at play, so that you end up with some of them being successful. But if you go too far that direction, so then those representatives of hosting institutions, they can feel it, and then they could lose attention just because they think that you are shooting at too many targets at the same time, which is not a good signal for a host. Yeah.
You again made me think of an English idiom, to have too many eggs in one basket, isn't it? It's like dating too many people at once. It's not the best strategy.
Yeah. Then you don't remember the names, and and it might become quite tricky.
Yeah, but I like always to think about parallels, because this world of project wording is sometimes really challenging to listen to and understand, and that's the reason why I always like to compare it to ordinary situation and ordinary lives, because this is something we can imagine better. So sorry for all these parallels, but when I listen to you, I also think about the calls and the texts, and then about poor ordinary human beings like us who have to deal with the whole situation of the European Commissions and their forms and the policies, and then the host institution and my research. So it's so much, it's sometimes so overpowering, which is the reason why I'm so glad that you talk to us, because it's so great to hear, again, a perspective of normal human being, but still normal human being in a specific position of supervisor, of a research leader, and of someone who also has to value to whom invest time or not. So you mentioning the risk of investing your valuable time into someone who is probably playing more games at once, that might be against something that might play against me when I have never collaborated with you before, you don't know me, and you suddenly start to feel from my side that it's not just exclusively you with whom I would like to collaborate. So it's a kind of like, I feel from what you said, that you constantly are kind of subconsciously checking my motivation, whether it is real, and dedication, whether I'm really dedicated to our collaboration or not.
And maybe there is also something which we haven't mentioned yet, and that's a kind of readiness of the candidate to accept some recommendations, feedback, suggestions from you as a lead researcher or a project coordinator. And based even on some first conversations, you can already feel if you talk to a person who is sort of resisting some suggestions, or that the position of the person would be something like, okay, thanks for sharing your view, but I will search for my own information, and I will just create my own opinion on that. So if there is something like that, so there is always a thought, once we start writing the proposal, or the person would draft the proposal, and then we would provide feedback, and we would, for example, require some substantial revision of that proposal. So you, as a host, really want to have a candidate who is kind of ready to work on those things that you recommend, because you are recommending something that you know is important for your center, is important for success in that particular scheme. So I think that this is also, again, it's kind of striking the balance between being too subordinated in saying I will do everything as you tell me, because then you don't want to have a sort of dependent researcher who is just waiting what you tell the researcher. But at the same time, there should be something like, and I would love to hear your feedback, and I'm ready to incorporate your feedback into my draft, and even you may ask, if possible, to get feedback from not just researchers, but if there is a person who is like senior grant specialist, so the person might have a different take on how to write a proposal, and if this person is crucial for the center, so you should also accept the fact that you would work with someone who will tell you maybe your view how to write it should be slightly revised, and this is an important quality of the candidate, which also decides about the willingness or the willingness of the host to host the application is sort of quite dependent on these elements too. Yeah.
Again, when you mention it, it feels like you create trust. I attracted your attention, and now we work on building trust. So when I kind of opened the gate for you to help me with being your future fellow, you already decided you want to invest your energy. So you need to trust whether I am a good fellow, whether my skills would be fitting. So now comes probably the moment when I should stop being that too proactive and start to listen. So at the beginning, it's a big game of being prepared, being active, and telling you what I think could work. Now suddenly comes a kind of gentle shift that I should step back and give you space. If you decided that you want to invest your time in our future possible collaboration, because you also risk the fact that you will invest your time into, even if it sounds good, we might not be financed, so still you are wasting probably your time. So that's a big decision from your side to be interested in collaborating with me and helping me. So this is the moment when I should step also back, listen quietly, give you space, ask more questions, and only then provide with some kind of feedback from my perspective, which can be even critical. I can give negative if I feel like it. I believe what you said is that you don't want someone to always say, okay, I'm going to accept what you said, but you need someone who is going to be kind of creatively thinking about your input. And just if I don't agree, I should tell you why I think it might not work in my case. And again, that's a question of communication. You need to be very gentle in this, because this is like what you said, we are working on mutual trust. So this is a gentle moment when I can lose you if I'm too kind of pushy or not. I can't find the proper word, but it's probably about empathy. You need to be really empathetic in this situation, because it's still, you didn't win.
I completely agree. And one thing which just popped in my mind when you were talking is that there is always, when you are preparing something bigger, like for this scheme, it's a quite demanding and big application. So you get to know the candidate throughout the process. And if you as a host or representative of the hosting institution, if you are really happy about the collaboration on that application, so then there is another door which opens, and this is that in case that the application is eventually not funded, so you would think of other alternative ways how to maintain the collaboration with this candidate. And you would even think of the candidate as someone that you would actively, for example, send a call that you are opening for some other positions. So I think that there is also you are right in saying that it would be, in a way, wasting time if the application is not funded. But I think that the decision of the representative of the hosting institution to start this bigger application with someone includes that kind of background thought. So this is not necessarily completely wasting our energy and time in any case, because we will learn the qualities of this candidate, and we will see what will be maybe other options that we might offer later on. So I think that basically it's really, you might as a candidate think of, once I'm supported by the hosting institution in starting the collaboration on that application, it's already quite a winning situation, because then I have a chance to show my qualities. I have a chance to show more about my work, and even the work on that application as such is not just research, but it's also a lot of kind of strategic thinking and the capacity to write all the technical parts. And if you show that, if you demonstrate that, so then you show that you are quite interesting candidate for the institution on any other scheme that they can think of. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this comment, because you just reminded me of happy moments in my career as a research consultant. And that was exactly this. I knew that investing my time as a consultant to certain people was not limited to this project proposal writing. And what you just said happened so many times when I worked with someone who was diligent and who really meant the collaboration with specific institutions seriously. The specific institution is the important thing, that they're really dedicated all the time to having just one egg in a basket. And later on, even if they were not successful with postdoctoral fellowship, they found a different scheme. And usually within a year, they were already at their host institute, even if the postdoctoral fellowship was not successful. And that was always a kind of happy story for me, that I was just navigating someone towards advancement in his career. I didn't mind what kind of project it would be. And it was always rewarding to see exactly what you said, that people learn so much on this process on writing. And it's not just writing, there are so many transferable skills. You improve, you show, and yeah, you get feedback on. So it's a great, also, I think, learning experience to write such kind of project. And because it's in a way, it's a very complex project, but still it's a very focused one. I am the main hero of the project, so I can focus just on me in the situation, not the research team or research group or the whole institution. So that's a great advantage of this kind of scheme, I think. Well, important question. You mentioned quite a lot of things going on when it comes to project writing. So when it comes to timing, we have now just 10 pages. So is it now too late, just the right time? What do you think? Or too early to start writing or approach someone?
So when we think of this time frame, that the deadline for this call is September, right? Yeah. So of course you have the two summer months, July and August, and it's quite usual that both universities and non-university research institutions, they have vacations. So of course you cannot expect that there will be any dedicated group of people working with you during July and August. So there might be some polishing, there might be some technical, like budget related part discussions later on. Ready. So that would be probably you know, before the end of May, ideally, to have something like a draft, which is mature enough that you can discuss it in detail with your hosting institution, and that you still have June as the month when the revisions based on the feedback that you receive will be incorporated, and that you can still, by the end of June, show what is the second revised draft, and that you are kind of almost ready with the scientific part before summer, and then researchers, when they go for vacation, so then they know that someone from administrative departments would work with you just on finalizing the technical part and preparing it for submission. So that's, I would say, the ideal timeline. And starting the first draft in June, I think it's like quite risky. And I imagine that some hosting institutions would not accept the candidate for this call if the contact is not before the first half of May. Yeah, that's my guess. Yeah.
So, well, I just experienced some problems with internet connection, so I missed a bit of what you said. But just to summarize it, you just said that it's the most important to, if you want to approach someone, do it now. Otherwise, it's just too late. Don't count on the summer months because people won't be available. You should be already quite ready with your scientific part of project proposal before the summertime. You should already know your host institution, the team, and get all the information before the summer months, because otherwise it is too risky. And as you said, even the host institutions are not going to be willing probably to accept candidates.
And what you see, of course, is that the hosting centers that are keen to get some good candidates, so they do their own internal calls for expressions of interest, and they usually do them like early spring. Despite the fact that this year the call published by the European Commission was pretty late, so all these calls for expressions of interest, they were done before the official opening of the call, and basically it's just on the previous standard documentations where people sort of expect that we are working within a similar framework. So these institutions, they show clearly that they are interested in talking to some interesting candidates, maybe in late spring, meaning April, or as we said, so beginning of May would be probably the latest to start the selection and to then work with the selected candidates. So I think that it's really important not to wait for the official publication of the tender documentations and to look around for these calls for expressions of interest earlier.
Yeah, thank you again for that. I try to convey this message on my YouTube channel, that it's not good to wait, because it's again an important lesson which we heard from you. Now we again hear it from a practical perspective, how much work has to be done. And when you just imagine all the processes, all the timing, you are busy, all the people around you are busy. So for me as a fellow, I need to be on time to give you space in your own busy schedules, to give me feedback, to give me some kind of replies. And once I get them, I again need to take it as a valuable ingredient, work with your input into my ideas, into my project, and again, reach back once I incorporate in my project vision or in my comments, whatever opinions, your feedback. So we need really, with every interaction, add some value into our process of building common project proposal.
Yeah,
this is what I believe I heard from you. So anyway, we are already talking for quite a long time, so not to waste your valuable time. I think we covered quite a lot. We could, of course, talk longer and longer. Maybe later we will meet one more time for some different topics, because we prepared for this interview before and we covered so many interesting ideas and topics. So maybe we'll still remember that we forgot about something really inspiring. So who knows, we might return. And so I just wanted to thank you a lot. I think it was really valuable to hear your view on the whole situation. I know that you yourself, as a research center, are planning to host people. You had your call open. So did you get motivation letters? How it was? Did you get something? Or, oh, by the way, yeah, what kind of people accepted your invitation to this call? Do you already had your previous collaborators, or did you get some new faces within that call?
Yeah, so we received some really nice expressions of interest, and I would say that the quality of these candidates was quite surprising. It was high, but of course, what was decisive was the match between between their research interests and our center. And in this time, so in our call, it was a slightly different situation than what we discussed at the beginning of our conversation today, because there was not the situation that the individual person is reaching out to the lead researcher. So we just had the formal procedure of we are accepting submissions, and then we did the selection. So we did the selection based on the materials, and I think it's quite important for these materials, if you're sending for such a formal procedure, so that you do sort of similar things in your motivation letter that we have described before, so that you simply have the space in the written form to show that individual interest and motivation. But of course, you are also providing a list of your achievements and a list of publications. And I think it's super important to make it very well structured, and so that the committee which is doing this selection is can get quickly from what you're submitting, what are your achievements. So sometimes, unfortunately, you see that there are interesting people, but they mess it in a way that you cannot really learn from the materials what is the most important, or where are the publications actually you're searching for them. So it's just the formal preparation of these documents is important. But our story this year is also showing some specific features, so which is that we selected one candidate that was who was a person that we have already been in touch through other opportunities. So it was a case where we selected someone we know, and it was based on a very good impression that we have had from that previous contact. So I think that there is an advantage always on the side of candidates who are sending their expression of interest on the basis of previous contact, of course. But I think that these are like two different categories. As we said, you can be completely new person reaching out, and I think it's totally legitimate, and you still have a very good, or you have a chance. But on the other hand, if there are people who, for example, attended the conference organized by the center before, or these people were applying for a position and they were ranked like the second best but not funded, so these people, they definitely have the advantage of the center already knows about them, the center knows their achievements and qualities, and when they then apply, so they would be quite easy to select for the committee, because they already have some previous history with the center. So that was our case this year, and I think that we also saw from the applications that there are very different categories of researchers applying. So you can have a very fresh postdoc who would, of course, be eligible, and there is the requirement to have some publications out, and good CV is evaluated differently with a very fresh postdoc, so that even the evaluators with the Marie Curie program would have these tables to, for example, it's a first-year postdoc, so we expect less than a third-year postdoc. But in our case also, it was someone who is very experienced, so it was like one of the last possibilities for applying within the scope of 8 years after PhD on research positions. So you have to check whether the CV is really so full and strong, so that it would be appropriate to send this candidate. And we were happy to get to the conclusion that we have a candidate who, despite quite experienced stage of postdoctoral career, so that the person really has a very strong CV. So that was the decision and the outcome this year for us. Yeah.
Which is again wonderful what you said, because it returns me back to the idea you introduced before, that it's never wasted, that the time is never wasted when you start to prepare something with someone. So even though you said that you selected candidates with whom you already had contact before, but even that previous contact was once the first one. So it's always opening some kind of gate. So even if we are not successful at this moment, I once was a new person for you, but by collaborating on this project proposal, I become the known person.
Yeah.
And you never know when another opportunity occurs when I could become your colleague. So that's the first thing I learned from what you said. And the second idea, again, is very, I would say, important when it comes also to project proposal writing. You mentioned that in those motivation letters, you wanted to see very structured and organized thinking in terms of information you were provided with. So it was the job of the applicant just to select the relevant information, so that you, as a busy people who are sitting in that committee, see just the relevant information, and it's not your job to look through all the information and decide what is relevant or what is important. So this is, again, the part of the game on the side of the fellow. Really, really think over all the assets, all the information, all the strengths I have, and pick just the most relevant one so that the story I present you with, just like in a project proposal, is very coherent, credible, and convincing. That's always the key word you hear in any kind of review, that the text was not convincing, that the project proposal or the part of the proposal was not convincing enough. And this is exactly it. You need to be very careful and elaborate with the information you include in the structure of your proposal, because it is in a way like a short novel, like a short text. You are creating a vision, but you need to be convincing so that people who read it, they know it's a kind of vision. It's not real, your project proposal, but you need to come out with ingredients that make all the actors of the project proposal credible.
Yeah,
so
and I think that you, Radka, mentioned also the fact that the skills that are visible through the quality of what is just the submission of this expression of interest. So the skills are the same that the candidate would then use for preparing the application. So, for example, if you see there is a messy materials submitted by someone, and that probably it was prepared in rush, and that it was really not well cared for in terms of also the visual quality of it, so that you see from on the first side, so that this is the important information, and I see all the parts that I would expect in that. Yeah. So this is something that then repeats on the level of preparing the application, and you really don't want to spend too much time with someone just training the person to get these skills in the process of writing an application with you. So you want someone who is already ready to write it in an appropriate and nicely structured way. So I think that also this kind of candidates can train their way of being readable and being attractive and being clear in what is the message already at the stage of expression of interest, and at the stage when, for example, they would definitely write an abstract of something. So there is always something like, please write 1-page abstract of your prospective a research project. And writing this abstract, this is also kind of discipline itself, so that the abstract is short, sure, but the abstract should have all the important qualities of the message is clear, it is original, and you provide it in a way that allows the evaluators to read it quickly, meaning you don't have, the evaluator doesn't have to read it like twice to get what is your message, but that you write it so that the eyes of the evaluator can sort of smoothly run through it, and they already see what you wanted to convey. And I think that's really about skills and about practicing and submitting several applications where you are getting feedback. Maybe you are getting some feedback from your colleagues, even if you show them your applications, and they would tell you, yeah, this is too vague, or this is kind of messy stuff there. Yeah.
Which is again wonderful what you said, because we return back to the beginning of our conversation. How important is the first impression? We will never get the second chance to get a first impression. So what you said, there will be only once they will read my text, and that's it, because they are not motivated to do it twice.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned the fact that it's not just words on paper, it's the structure. There are so many tiny aspects to how I present my thoughts on paper that add to this first impression and the smoothness of your mind being in tune with what I have written. And for that reason, it is, again, you mentioned it, so valuable to get as much feedback as possible, because sometimes I might think I was clear in how I expressed my thoughts, but then it's just my viewpoint and my experience that is on the paper. So if I get a brain of someone else who is willing to share his experience with me on my piece of paper, then I think that's, again, a wonderful lesson we can get from this all and improve our, and we return back to our beginning of our conversation, to the communication skills. And now we see how important they are in research practice. Because again, when I worked as a consultant and developer of research careers, I could see how these soft skills are so frequently overlooked. People take them for granted, something easy, well, everyone can do it. But when it comes to the reality, just try it. And you will see how many mistakes you will make, just like I did when I started to record my videos, and I keep on making mistakes. And one thing is theory, and the other thing is practice. So writing any kind of tags. Now you got, as people who watch this channel, feedback from a reviewer, from an evaluator, from supervisor, from experienced researcher. So I hope you are going to learn something from it as well. So again, Petr, I wanted to thank a lot for this interview. It's really a long one, but I think there was so many valuable information in it. So I didn't want to keep it shorter. So I think I'm going to put it online, just the complete as we did it, because I think who wants to get interesting inspiration will listen to it. And I got feedback from a wonderful researchers I did interview with a week ago, that they really, once they are in the process of writing, they understand why we talk about certain things. If you don't write, then sometimes you think it's just empty speech. But once you start to write, you see the value of these insights. So I, again, want to thank you for your insight and for your, I think, almost 2 hours of your time today. So anyway, thank you very much. And best of luck with your future fellow. I hope I will hear more from you, and I also wish you best of luck with your research center, because what you do, I think, is really, really important and up-to-date topic for the recent state of research and technology. So thank you.
It was a real pleasure, Radka. Thank you for the interview and for the invitation again. And I would also like to encourage everybody to not to be shy and really to reach out to people when they feel that they are in the position of maybe there is a good resonance, good match between us. And I think that it's a shame to see sometimes really talented people who are not trying because they don't have the self-confidence. And I would think that everybody should try. Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
And again, it's a nice message what you say at the end, because it just kind of refers to our situation, because we met under certain conditions which didn't lead to expected outcome at the moment. But again, because we already knew each other and I knew about you, you knew about me. So then when I asked you whether you would like to do this interview, you were willing to do it. And probably because you knew who I was. Because you already had an interaction with me. So again, we confirm what you said. It's never time wasted when you know what you are doing and when you really show that you are interested in your host institution. So I think probably I convinced you because I did my homework really well.
Yes, you did.
Okay. So anyway, thank you very much. It was kind of you.
Thanks.
Best of luck, like I said. Thank you.